Are you friends or opponents in your marriage? I want you to really think about that this morning. I want to encourage you to be mindful about the way you interact with your partner. Are you treating your partner like a friend, or are you treating them like an opponent? But even worse, are you treating them like an enemy? I understand that a lot of times when we get married and we've been together for years, it's easy to get so relaxed in a relationship that we don't think we have to be mindful of the way we're treating the individual. We begin to think, I love you, so you should just let this go. Or we move from the place or the energy of don't take everything so personal. You need to let things go. But I'm asking you, are you treating your spouse, your partner, like a friend, or are you treating them like an opponent? Do you have to win every conversation, every disagreement? Are you always right? And not only are you right, do you have to go out your way to prove that you're right? Are you one of those people who, in proving you're right, you use like sarcasm to do it? Or you manipulate situations where you bring up the hard things in front of people to prove your point, where you look for allies to say, hey, here's a situation. What do you think about it? And then if they agree with you, kind of nudge your spouse in some way to say, see, I told you I'm right and you was wrong in this. Because if you're doing that, I want to ask you, where is that coming from? Why is it so important to you to be right in that situation? Have you been wrong so long that even prior to maybe being married, or wrong so long in the marriage that you are now fighting for your position, that you are determined to be the better person, to be the winner? Because here's the thing about setting your marriage up in a space where there's a winner and a loser. The marriage lose every time. If you are the winner and your spouse is the loser, how is the marriage winning? I want you to be about your marriage. I want you to see your spouse as your friend, your partner in life, as your companion, someone that the Bible says that you're willing to die for a companion. So if we go into scriptures where it talks about the husband and the wife, and it says that the husband should lay down his life for his wife. And then the Bible tells us women to respect our husbands. Are you using your words to be respectful? Are you expressing things in kindness? So as a friend, we want to have someone where we feel safe physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, where I can be vulnerable without thinking that my vulnerability will later be thrown in my face, where I can lay down my troubles or my insecurities and know that you will hold them with care. So just want to encourage you that as you move about marriage, that you become very mindful of the way that you're treating your spouse. Notice how you're talking to them. Notice their reaction to you. Notice that if the energy in the household, is it one of a loving environment, or are you guys in neutral corners? And do you find that the only time you really come together or that you fight is when you're around other people? Are you the same couple in front of people that you are behind closed doors? Because maybe in the household, when it's just the two of you, you're off in your neutral corners, you're doing your own thing because you see the relationship as a landfill where anything you say will cause an eruption. And so instead of saying anything, you avoid each other. You don't talk to one another because you're in this relationship to be right. You have either been wronged again so long that you've just given up and you said, you know what, I'm not going to keep fighting this fight. Today, I'm inviting you to change the energy in your environment. I want you to change the way you move, talk, and discuss with one another. I want you, like the person who's watching, I want you to be intentional about being the hero, per se, in the marriage. So there's a teaching, and I can't think of the gentleman's name. It's a book I read years ago, really great book. And if I can think of it, I'll put it in the link, where he talks about there always has to be a hero, because we get into what he called the fear dance. The fear dance says, I want something, or I need something. You seemingly not going to give it to me. And so fear shows up. And now I am fighting from my fear state. And now my fear triggers your fear. And now you are trying to get something that you want or need. And we're in this dance of a constant fear where I want something, I need something, I think you won't give it to me, you're not treating me right, you won't listen to me. And so I'm in fear. I'm in fear that I'm not being heard. I'm in fear that I'm frustrated because you don't hear me, see me, won't do it the way I think you should do it. Fear has a lot of different hats. Fear, frustration is fear. Anger is fear. Sadness can be a level of fear if you've been sad for so long because you simply think nothing's ever going to change. Depression is fear turned within, where you have convinced yourself that it's all about you and things can't get any better. And so your mind gets locked in on what will not happen. That's fear. And so when you're operating from fear, all you can do is trigger fear from your partner. And so if you're doing that, now you're our opponents, because fear never draws people together. It never creates love. It never creates closeness, intimacy, and security. So I'm inviting you today to shift to being a friend. And maybe you have to start with being the friend that you desire. If you desire to be listened to, listen. If you desire to be heard, be intentional about letting your spouse know, I hear you. How do you do that? Active listening. It means repeat back to them what they've said. Then they know that you heard them. And not only was they heard, they was understood. Give what you desire. The reason I'm asking you to give what you desire is because I want you to practice being the spouse you want to have. And I promise you that energy, when love shows up, when you're operating from wisdom, from kindness, from gentleness, all of these are expression of love. When you're operating from love, the Bible says we reap what we sow. So love will come back. Now, if you're in a relationship where there's abuse and so much damage, maybe your love won't bring back the love that you desire. But you have the wisdom to know whether you're in a relationship with a complete enemy or just two people who haven't quite figured out how to communicate effectively and get along. And if that's where you are, where you love your husband and he loves you, but you guys just bump heads because you don't understand how to just get along. You don't know how to just let it go. You haven't quite figured out how to not be the winner, how to be right. If you haven't figured that part out, but you know there's love there, you can change that. You can shift that environment. If you need help doing that, that's what I do as a marriage coach. So feel free to reach out to me at berrythoughtfullife.com. But I just want your marriage to win and succeed. And I know that I have tools and strategies that can help with that. I want to say thank you so much for watching. I want to say, will you share and like this video? Will you comment so I know that you are watching? So that I don't think I'm always just talking to myself. Sometimes the encourager needs to be encouraged. And I want to invite you to have an amazing day by paying attention to what it is you're thinking about yourself and others, the way that you're showing up and behaving because of those thoughts. And I want you to create the loving, peaceful day that you want by being loving and peaceful yourself. Have a blessed one. Bye-bye.